going on, y'all? Welcome back to the chaos. So we've taken a field trip. We're actually in the OG where I grew up. So this is my mom's house, and the chaos garage unfortunately is overflowing. So our new Edge 2000 Mustang GT is actually having to live here for the time being. But we've come over here to do an old school install. And this is something before I had the GT. I actually had a 99 V6 version, white and everything. Well, we had our chin spoiler that comes off of the Mach 1. So this is actually a Ford OEM Mach 1 chin spoiler. We've got that to complete the look for our Mustang. I just think the front end of these new Edges, they just look so naked. So with the addition of, it's just this ABS plastic little chin spoiler, I think it just completes the look of these cars, because otherwise you can kind of see, like, when you're looking underneath, you can kind of see like the little air dam sticking down, and I don't know, it's just not very attractive. So this will hide that, also kind of make it look as though it sits a little lower to the ground, and like I said, just complete the front end. So if you have a new Edge, I highly recommend. This is a pretty cheap part, a couple $100, and it just completely changes the look of the front end of this car. So that's what we're going to be installing today. And before we get started, we're going to kind of do some prep work, and one of those is actually going to be set the chin spoiler out in the sun, so that way the heat will kind of make that, it's just plastic, so that heat will kind of make it a little more flexible. That way it'll be easier to work with. So I'm going to go stick this outside, let it soak up the sun for a little bit. So we've already got the Mustang on jack stands, and then like I was alluding to, you can kind of see like these little like air dams underneath the front bumper, and they just look terrible. So with that chin spoiler, it'll hide those. So I'm trying to figure out the best plan of attack. So while our chin spoiler is outside melting in the sun, I picked up some of these self-tappers, and so I think what our game plan is going to be is going to kind of align the sides kind of with the wheel well and start with those two first. I'm gonna have to drill a pilot hole and then run our self-tappers in. But if we start and make sure that the rear is aligned, then we can kind of work our way forward. So start on the corners and then maybe get the very center punched out and then kind of go all the way around the bumper. But I want to make sure that we get it lined up, and I think the easiest way to do so is start with the two wheel wells. Just doing a test fit. I think that's the key, is lining up both, so my side and then Slam's side, get those into place and then kind of work our way forward. Maybe do a center punch up here, but definitely getting the wheel wells aligned first. Our plan of attack is to kind of actually get the chin spoiler taped up to kind of hold into place, and then I'm gonna have to drill some pilot holes first. So we're only gonna do that, the pilot holes on each corner near the wheel well, and get two of the self-tappers in there. Then kind of game plan again. I think we'll probably go try to center punch and then kind of work our way back. So with our tape method, we've got it held on there just so that way we can kind of get an idea and get a game plan of like how we're actually gonna go and attach it. But I think we're gonna have to call in some help. So I think the game plan is gonna have Slam on one side, my mom on the other, and basically kind of line it up, because you kind of gotta, even with it sitting in the sun, you still have to kind of muscle it into place and like line up perfectly with the bumper itself. So I hate to say, but you probably need, 3 sets of hands. So one on each side holding, and then that way I can crawl up underneath and start drilling our pilot holes. So you can see with our tape job, it just doesn't have enough force to kind of hold it into place. So we're just gonna have somebody over here muscling this plastic up against the bumper where it's supposed to be, held in place like that. And then that way I can be up underneath drilling our pilot hole. We're gonna take our drill for our pilot hole, and the bit I've got on there is just a little bit smaller than our self-tappers. So I'm gonna run those up there first, so that way when I can run those self-tappers and they'll have a nice hole to feed into. Got a self-tapper on each corner, and there's already been a casualty. I didn't realize when I was drilling the pilot hole, you kind of got to pull back on the lip, and I'll show you what I mean in a second, but didn't realize that I've already messed up like the perimeter of the chin spoiler. So, I mean, I'm sure at some point in its life it was sure to encounter some damage, but I didn't think during the install was gonna be when it was gonna happen, but oh well, I mean, I gotta live with it. It's minor, but it sucks since it is brand new, and I was at least hoping to make it a few miles before messing it up. Here's the extent of our damage. Like I said, it's just, I nicked it with the drill trying to get the pilot hole. So what you'll have to do is kind of put your hand, I know that's a hard ass to have to hold it in place and pull away from the car all at once, but you kind of have to pull on it so that way those pilot holes don't snag the side of your chin spoiler. Aside from our one mishap right at the beginning of the install, everything else, knock on wood, went smoothly. So we actually ended up doing, were on the very back two sides that I kept referring to near the wheel well, we kind of skipped those holes and made our own custom holes, because once I did it on the driver's side, was able to like drill my pilot hole, but then when I actually put the screw through it, it kind of bowed out the chin spoiler so much that it didn't follow the lines like the contour of the car. So it didn't look good. So just kind of went a little bit more inboard, like towards the front of the car, and made my own little custom hole through the chin spoiler itself and the bumper, but that made it lay perfect. So here at the back is where I was talking about where that hole, like it comes pre-drilled, ready for your holes, but it just didn't work out. It was bowing it too much, so I just took and made our own little custom hole. So it works, makes it more flush that way. So I think I'm happy with that. So let's get this puppy off jack stands and take a look. So I got the chin spoiler on, and it just makes it complete. Because honestly, like the front end to me, it looked a little naked. So this just puts that, yeah, like the chef's kiss, just makes the front end look complete, and it pulls like the body line down a little bit so it doesn't look like the front end is so high, so it kind of makes it a little more aggressive in the front. And like I said, it looks like it needed something, and it hides those little air dams that you can that hung lower than the bumper. So I always hated like approaching the car, especially from a distance. That's all I could see. It kind of like, I don't know why my eye was so drawn to that, but they just looked terrible being able to see those things under the car. So that hides that and just completes the front end, in my opinion. So in total, it's gonna use 17 self-tappers, so just keep that in mind when you run to the store and grab your hardware. But I guess you could technically use 3M tape. I don't feel as comfortable doing that just because I feel like it might, I mean, it's the front of your car, it's gonna catch the most wind, so I just don't want it to fall off. Plus, like I said, it's pre-drilled for screws, it looks like, so that's the way I went. You might could do kind of a combo of 3M tape and the self-tappers, but I mean, it's on there sturdy with just the self-tappers. Everything comes full circle, because I remember doing this on my V6 Mustang in this very garage probably 15 years ago. It's just wild how that works, but I'm excited to have that done. And if you do have a 99-04 New Edge, this is probably one of the top 5 mods I recommend. 1, because it's cheap. 2, it's easy to install. And then 3, it completes the look of the front end so much. So it just feels naked without it. So once you get it, you're gonna wonder, man, like me, why the heck didn't I do this a long time ago? Well, let me know what you think in the comments section. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those as well. But like I said, easy install, 17 bolts, grab you a buddy that can help you out and knock it out in the afternoon. But I appreciate everybody watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.